Hello everyone, and welcome back to Galactic Reviewers. This week we're going over the new Aquaman movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Right out the gate, I'm just gonna say they went back to producing DC movies like I know, really bad. So, not really surprised, just disappointed. Wonder Woman, the first one was good, the first Aquaman was good, and then this one was just disappointing. I don't have much to say besides just it had
Ooh.
some good parts. It had some good parts. I did laugh sometimes, but it was a very slow movie compared to the first one. It was slow, it was boring, it was tedious, and it was not worth me sitting in front of it for 2 hours. So, yeah, that's pretty much my take on it.
I would watch this movie again, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch it.
Like if somebody picked it, you wouldn't mind watching it, but you're
Yeah,
not gonna.
I wouldn't mind. It's just the CGI in it was good, but I just wasn't a fan of the slow build up at parts and then everything seemed rushed in other parts. It just wasn't balanced in my opinion. At least from what I when I watched it, it just seemed kind of I was just disappointed, all in all. Now, did this movie I didn't get a chance to see if it had an end credit. Did it?
It did, but it wasn't worth much.
Okay.
It was essentially callback to Orm eating a cockroach and liking it when originally he was just supposed to disgust him. So he finds a cockroach, grabs it, and throws it in his burger and eats it with the burger.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah, he
Okay.
the
does go get a
incorrect.
burger and beer,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did see
Well,
and
that.
then
that's
prefers
that is
the
that's before
cockroach.
the credits roll or the
Oh, that's right.
end
That's right.
credits
That's
scene.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll let one of you guys go. I was just disappointed.
This movie was just not good. I've seen CW superhero episodes with better CGI than this movie had. Not all of them, but I have seen the better CW TV show animation. Like Jason Momoa was fine. He's a fine actor. I'm sure he did justice to the script that was given to him. Just being funny and not caring about his role, but still being a king. Like, no complaints on his portrayal of the script they gave him.
Hmm.
What's disappointing is that this like story had potential. Like it could have been interesting. It just wasn't. We I think the best part of this was just kind of the tension between the brothers and seeing that kind of resolve. Could have done it in a more impactful way, less cheesy way than they did. The ending was fine. It was sweet, like with the brothers' relationship. But other than that, it was just like the CGI was bad. The story was predictable. I never once felt like, oh no, this is not good. Um,
The only time I felt that was when I was halfway through the movie and realized none of the plot made any sense.
the only time I enjoyed it was when the scientist that didn't want to be there was on screen. That was about the most enjoyable part of the movie. It's just meh. And give it a 3 out of 10. What? There was no reason for this movie to be made and no reason for this movie to be put out when they put together the final project.
I want to know how much of the script they had to redo with like cutting out Amber Heard.
They didn't.
Well, I know she was still in the movie, but I wanted to know,
I don't know how
did
much they
she
actually
originally
cut out.
have more role?
According to the
I mean,
director,
that's
they
fair.
she didn't, but according to her, she did. So it's a more so he said, she said kind of thing.
Okay.
So, but from the looks of it, it doesn't look like she was cut out of much of anything.
Yeah, I mean, she had what, like 3 lines in the whole movie?
Yeah. What's funnier is her character could have very easily have been killed like two separate times, and her character was saved two separate times in this film. I guess I'll go ahead and give my thoughts on this one. I don't hate it, but I don't like it. This feels a lot like this feels kind of like the first Aquaman, but they decided to try to go more campy. Jason Momoa doesn't act like Aquaman; acts more like Jason Momoa. That's a huge complaint of mine. It just and that's and that's evident when you find out that I think he's either one of the writers or directors or something of this film of this movie. So that's why he just acts like himself. I think Orm is probably the best part about this film. I think Patrick Wilson does a good job playing Orm. I think Black Manta is just a throwaway villain that was just underused and died stupidly. Um,
No, honestly, if he didn't die like that, he wasn't a real villain. I'm gonna be perfectly honest.
to be like I understand that, but there wasn't any buildup
Oh
from
no,
that
no, no.
other
I
than the
I
first
completely
movie.
agree.
So it
I
was
completely agree.
completely, yeah.
I completely agree with that. But if he had taken Aquaman's hand, it was like, nah, there was no point in this character the whole time.
Yeah, I
But
know.
it was the fact that the dude almost killed his newborn son, and then he was like, "I'll save you."
Well,
I would
no,
have stepped on his fingers.
Oh yeah, no, I do agree. I do
people
agree,
were saying
100%.
that it would probably would have been more effective if Black Manta had just got done killing Aquaman's father. That would have been better character development to see him go through all that, even though his father had died.
Hmm.
Because I mean, he does make that threat, and then he still lives, which kind of just makes that threat, earlier when
Yeah,
it kind of doesn't make any sense. But
yeah, I know he has the whole line of pretty much like, I'm gonna keep you alive long enough to make him watch you die. And I'm
yeah,
like, oh cool. So he like stabbed him in the heart or like somewhere's close by.
no, he just
And he
gave him.
cannot come, he can't be saved from this. And it's like, nah, he can be saved.
Apparently, he can. So yeah, I did like the brother dynamic. I wish they had done a better job displaying that dynamic. Instead of all these weird or horribly timed comedy lines that they thought was funny. Some of them were, a lot of them weren't. It was essentially, like I said earlier, just Jason Momoa acting like Jason Momoa. If he was acting more like Aquaman, it probably would have worked out well, especially when Orm came to that realization that Aquaman Arthur never wanted to be king. He just decided to become king, so that way he wouldn't start fighting the surface world. That would have worked out, but instead it automatically gets undercut with the boom, I just roasted you. That kind of like a lot of that stuff doesn't really work out well. Like you guys said earlier, the plot doesn't.
Aquaman is a little bit more of a serious character.
Yeah, a lot of the plot, like you guys already said, doesn't work that well. The scientist character is confusing because he's a bad guy the whole time, but he's a good guy. It's weird how they try to make him sort of gray, even though he's seen Black Manta 3 separate times be very, very evil and decides to still stay with him the whole time. And there's multiple opportunities where he could have taken the baby away from the danger. Like he's in his own submarine and he's with the baby. He could just leave, but he doesn't do. I don't get any of that stuff. There's a lot of stuff that could have been done differently. Patrick Wilson Orm is probably the best thing about this. His character is well thought of and well developed. Probably going to give this a 4 out of 10. So
Now I feel like I overcut it. I wasn't sure how you guys would feel.
it
That I
was
still
either
stand by
between
a 5.
it was in between a 4 and a 5. So I just went the lower half.
Yeah, that's
So
fair. That was kind of the same. I just went with an upper half because I was like, eh. I mean, I've seen worse movies.
yeah, I understand that.
It's just, but I will admit, you did call pretty much this plot, like step by step pace, and like we talked about it like 2 weeks before we watched this.
Hmm.
So you pretty much called that plot the whole thing step by step, except they didn't kill the kid.
Yeah, well, that was the thought process. Was there had been critics saying, "Oh, it's horrible what they do to this kid," and they did really nothing with the kid. So I was thinking, "Oh, they're gonna kill the kid like they do in the comic books." Hence why everybody's like all up in arms. But it turns out critics are dumb, and that was just a tease to get people to, watch the movie. So,
Yeah, well, that's their job.
but yeah, well, not to be dumb, but to get people to watch the movie. I get that. But there was so much stuff that could have been done well. It had potential, especially with the way that they had some of the stuff set up. I just think they gave Jason. I don't know if it was James Wan was undercut by Jason Momoa, or if they just didn't think about it and just threw in a script because it was the last movie. They didn't care. The DC universe was kind of going in its own new direction anyway. I don't know. There's many different things that they could have just said, screw all of this. And it seems like they really did just say, screw it. This is the movie that we made. Who cares? So, but
Yeah,
Didn't have to make it.
I mean, that's fair. Save your money.
yeah, true. I think this one was already underway in production wise, so probably would have lost them money if they didn't go ahead and make it, which ironically enough, it's gonna lose them money. Or it did lose them money. I don't know which one it is.
I'm like, at that,
Because
but
I
the
don't think
thing
it
is,
even
at that
broke
point,
even.
yeah, but at that point, like, if you already realize you can't go back from this, make a good movie at least.
Yeah, you would think so, but I don't think
They know how to write a script.
I don't think they
I
were
sure
well,
don't,
I
but
don't
I mean,
think
this is their job.
I don't think Jason Momoa knows how to write a script, because it seems like he was given some of the leeway, and that can be seen with the way that his character acts in this one versus Aquaman 1.
Yeah, it's a very different
So it's a very
character
different
almost. Persona.
writing dynamic, it seems, and that's where I would
Mhm.
say that's where that comes from. So Andrew gave it a 3, I gave it a 4, and then you gave it a 5, Zach. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Galactic Reviews. Join us next time when we'll be watching The Beekeeper. Don't forget that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time on Galactic Reviews.